For thousands of years, the story of Persia has been told as if it began with one man, one empire, and one sudden explosion onto the world stage under Cyrus the Great. That is the version taught in almost every textbook. But scientists just pulled DNA directly out of skeletons buried across the Iranian Plateau, some of them predating the Persian Empire by thousands of years, and compared it against the genomes of people living in that same region today. What they found did not just fill in a missing chapter of history. It quietly dismantled the idea that Persian identity ever had a single clean starting point at all. The real story turned out to be older, stranger, and far more continuous than anyone expected. The empire we call Persia grew out of a much older civilization that rarely gets mentioned in casual conversation about ancient history, a civilization called Elam, centered in what is now southwestern Iran, with its great capital at Susa. Elam was not a footnote. It was one of the oldest, longest surviving civilizations in the ancient Near East, older than the Persian Empire by well over 2,000 years, with its own written language, its own gods, its own kings, and its own military rivalries with the great powers of Mesopotamia. Elamite civilization rose, fractured, rebuilt itself, and endured through what scholars now describe across three distinct major phases, stretching from roughly the 3rd millennium BCE through the 7th century BCE, when the Neo-Elamite kingdom finally fell. For most of that immense span of time, Elam existed as a genuinely independent civilization occupying the exact geographic heartland that would later become the core of the Persian Empire. And here is the question that scientists have been trying to answer for years, a question that written history alone could never fully settle. When the Persians rose to dominate that same territory, did they replace the people who had lived there for millennia, or did they descend from them? For a long time, the honest answer was that nobody really knew, because history written on clay tablets and carved into palace walls tells you about kings, wars, and trade routes, but it does not tell you what was actually happening inside the bodies of ordinary people, generation after generation, as one civilization gave way to the next. Solving that kind of question requires something written by nature itself, preserved in bone and tooth enamel, invisible to the human eye, but readable with the right tools, thousands of years after the person carrying it has turned to dust. That is exactly what a team of researchers set out to do, and in May of 2025, their findings were published in the journal Scientific Reports under a title that, on its surface, sounds almost dry. Ancient DNA indicating 3,000 years of genetic continuity in the northern Iranian Plateau, from the Copper Age to the Sassanid Empire. Underneath that modest title sits one of the most significant genetic studies ever conducted on the deep ancestry of the Iranian people. The research team analyzed 50 human samples recovered from 9 separate archaeological sites scattered across Iran, successfully sequencing 23 complete mitochondrial genomes and 13 full nuclear genomes, spanning an almost unbelievable range of time, from roughly 40 to 700 BCE all the way through 1300 CE. Read that again, because the scale of it matters. This is not a study comparing one ancient skeleton to one modern person. This is a genetic timeline stretching across nearly 6,000 years of continuous human habitation in the same region, deliberately built to capture the moments when major political powers rose and fell, including a particular focus on the Achaemenid, Parthian, and Sassanid periods, the 3 great successive Persian empires that together dominated the ancient Near East for the better part of 1,000 years. And to make sense of what they found in these 50 individuals, the researchers cross-referenced their new data against an extensive library of previously published ancient DNA datasets from across Western and South Central Asia, effectively building the most detailed genetic map of Iranian deep ancestry ever assembled. Before we get to the Persian Empire itself, it is worth going back even further, because the deepest layer of this genetic story reaches back to a population that predates any named civilization at all. Long before Elam, long before writing, long before cities, the Zagros mountains that run along Iran's western edge were home to Mesolithic hunter-gatherer communities, and genetic analysis of remains recovered from the Alborz mountain range in northern Iran shows these ancient hunter-gatherers carried ancestry connected to what geneticists call the Basal Eurasian lineage, an extremely deep, ancient branch of the human genetic tree. This is where the story starts to get genuinely strange in the best possible way. These early Iranian hunter-gatherers appear to have carried this basal Eurasian ancestry without the Neanderthal genetic contribution found in almost every other non-African human population on Earth at the time, making the population of the Zagros region one of the more unusual and archaeologically significant genetic groups from that era anywhere in the ancient world. Then, moving forward in time, early Neolithic farmers at a site called Ganj Dara, one of the earliest farming settlements ever excavated in the Zagros region, show genetic ancestry that researchers believe descended directly from these earlier hunter-gatherer populations, genetically grouped closely alongside a related population researchers call the Caucasus hunter-gatherers. Think about what that means. Thousands of years before Elam existed as a named civilization, before Persia was even a distant future possibility, the exact same mountainous corridor of land was already home to a genetically distinct, traceable population, quietly setting down the deepest roots of what would eventually become Iranian ancestry. And this is where the study delivers its central, genuinely shocking finding, the one that gives this story its title. When researchers compared genetic material recovered from a new, extraordinarily old early Chalcolithic sample, one that actually predates every other Copper Age genome previously recovered from Iran, against the genetic profile of these earlier Neolithic populations, they found something that upended the assumption of clean, sequential replacement that many historians had quietly carried for decades. This ancient Chalcolithic individual showed genetic ancestry that was still overwhelmingly, recognizably early Neolithic Iranian in character. In plain terms, that means the population living in this region during the Copper Age had not been swept aside or genetically overwritten by some later wave of outside migrants. They were, to a remarkable degree, the direct biological descendants of the farmers and hunter-gatherers who had lived in that exact landscape thousands of years earlier. The researchers describe this as evidence of long-term cultural and biological continuity concentrated specifically around the Zagros region, though they are careful to note this continuity existed alongside detectable evidence of some genetic influence arriving from populations further west, meaning this was never a story of total isolation, but rather one of deep, persistent local roots absorbing outside contact without ever being erased by it. Now push the timeline forward again, past the rise and eventual fall of Elam, into the era when Persia itself finally steps onto the world stage. This is where the study's later samples become especially significant, because the researchers deliberately prioritized recovering genetic material from individuals who lived during the Achaemenid, Parthian, and Sassanid periods, the three successive empires that together represent the classical high point of ancient Persian civilization, spanning roughly from 355 BCE through 460 CE. Genetic analysis of these historical era individuals revealed something that directly connects the Persian imperial population back to the same deep regional ancestry traced all the way back to the Copper Age and beyond. The researchers describe the genetic profile of these historical Persian samples as sitting at an intermediate position along what they call an east-west genetic cline stretching across the entire Persian plateau, meaning these ancient Persians were not a genetically foreign population that had swept in from elsewhere and displaced everyone who came before them. They were positioned genetically as a continuation, a population sitting comfortably within the same broad genetic lineage that had been developing in that exact region for thousands of years, while simultaneously showing meaningful genetic connections to Bronze Age populations across South Central Asia, reflecting the vast trade networks, migrations, and cultural exchange that defined the classical Persian world at the height of its power. Here is where the researchers make their boldest and most quotable claim, the one that turns this from an interesting technical paper into a genuinely history-altering finding. Their diachronic analysis, meaning their study of how specific genetic lineages changed, or in this case largely didn't change, across enormous stretches of time revealed a consistent, measurable pattern of population stability, stretching from prehistoric times all the way through to the modern era. Think about what that actually means for a region that has, according to written history, been conquered, ruled, and re-ruled by an almost dizzying succession of different powers. Elamites, Persians under Cyrus and Darius, Alexander the Great, and the Greeks who followed him, the Parthians, the Sassanids, and eventually the Arab conquests that reshaped the region's religion and language entirely. On paper, that reads like a region defined by constant, violent demographic upheaval, wave after wave of outside populations arriving and displacing whoever came before. The genetic evidence tells a fundamentally different story. Political power changed hands again and again, empires rose under new names and new ruling dynasties, religions and languages shifted dramatically, and yet the underlying population, the actual biological descendants living on that land, remained remarkably, measurably stable across an almost incomprehensible span of nearly 6,000 years. This finding connects directly back to a set of much smaller, more specific studies focused precisely on Elam itself, adding another crucial layer of evidence to the picture. In 2017, a team of Iranian researchers conducted a targeted genetic analysis specifically on skeletal remains recovered from Haf Tepe, an archaeological site directly associated with the Middle Elamite period, successfully extracting and sequencing mitochondrial DNA from 5 separate ancient human bone samples. This kind of targeted work matters enormously because it means researchers are not simply inferring what Elamite genetics might have looked like based on nearby, roughly contemporary populations. They are working directly with genetic material recovered from individuals who were, by any reasonable definition, actual Elamites, people who lived, worked, and died within the Elamite civilization itself, buried at a site directly tied to that specific ancient culture. Separately, a 2024 study focused on a specific Y chromosome lineage known as haplogroup L1, M22, found something that pushes the story in an entirely unexpected geographic direction, identifying genetic evidence supporting a real traceable connection between ancient Elamite populations and Dravidian-speaking populations of South Asia, a linguistic and genetic link that researchers had suspected for years based on similarities between the Elamite language and Dravidian languages, but had never before been able to support with this level of direct genetic evidence. According to this research, this particular Y chromosome lineage most likely originated in West Asia roughly 20,000 years ago, with one branch of that ancient population later expanding through the Neolithic era, while a separate genetically related branch migrated eastward into South Asia without a corresponding population. Expansion, potentially carrying early Elamite-related ancestry directly into the genetic and linguistic ancestry of Dravidian-speaking populations that exist in India today. Take a moment to actually sit with what that means, because it reaches so far beyond the boundaries of modern Iran that it becomes almost dizzying. If this genetic connection holds up under continued research, it means the ancient civilization of Elam did not simply vanish into history when its final Neo-Elamite kingdom collapsed in the 7th century BCE. Some genetic and possibly linguistic thread connecting that ancient population may still exist today, carried forward not in modern Iran alone, but potentially embedded within Dravidian-speaking populations living across an entirely different subcontinent thousands of kilometers away, separated from the Zagros mountains by mountain ranges, deserts, and the full breadth of the Iranian Plateau. An ancient civilization that most people outside of specialized archaeology have simply never heard of may have left genetic fingerprints stretching across two entirely different modern nations, hiding in plain sight inside the DNA of millions of people who have no formal reason to know anything about ancient Susa at all. Bringing this back to the central, more immediate question, the one framed directly in the title of this story, the comparison between modern Persian populations and ancient Elamite and pre-Elamite ancestry produces a conclusion that genuinely challenges the simplified version of Persian history most people carry around without ever questioning it. The popular narrative treats Persian identity as something that essentially began with Cyrus the Great in the 6th century BCE, as if an entirely new population and civilization simply materialized out of nowhere to conquer the ancient Near East. The genetic evidence tells a far more interesting story. The population that became Persia did not appear from nothing. It emerged from and remained substantially continuous with populations that had already been living in that exact landscape for thousands of years before the Achaemenid dynasty ever took power, populations that themselves descended from Elamite civilization, and before that, from Copper Age farmers, and before that, from the Mesolithic hunter-gatherers of the Zagros Mountains, stretching the unbroken thread of ancestry back nearly 6,000 years into deep prehistory. Modern Iranian populations, according to this research, are not the genetic descendants of some entirely separate group of outside conquerors who simply happened to settle in the same territory, previously occupied by Elam. To a remarkable, scientifically measurable degree, they are the direct biological continuation of the very same population, reshaped and enriched by additional waves of contact and migration over thousands of years, but never fundamentally replaced. It's worth being precise here about exactly what this research does and does not claim, because ancient DNA studies of this kind are powerful tools, but they are not magic wands capable of resolving every historical question with absolute finality. The researchers themselves are careful to describe evidence of some Western genetic influence layered on top of the deep local continuity they identified, meaning this was never a story of a completely sealed, isolated population, untouched by the outside world for 6,000 years. Trade, migration, conquest, and cultural exchange all left real, detectable genetic marks on the population over time, exactly as you would expect from a region that sat at the literal crossroads of the ancient world connecting Mesopotamia, the Caucasus, Central Asia, and the Indian subcontinent. What the evidence argues against is not outside contact itself, but the older, simpler assumption that major political and cultural transitions, Elam giving way to Persia, Persia giving way to Alexander and the Greeks, must have been accompanied by wholesale population replacement. The genetics say otherwise. Political power changed hands repeatedly. The people themselves largely stayed. There is something worth pausing on here about why this particular kind of finding tends to catch people off guard. And it isn't really about Iran specifically. Human beings tend to think about ancient history in terms of the flashiest available markers, in terms of kings, conquests, capital cities, and the sudden, dramatic rise and fall of named empires. Popular history, because it's condensed into bullet point timelines, tends to encourage exactly the kind of thinking these genetic results complicate. The idea that when an empire falls and a new one rises, the underlying population essentially resets, replaced by whoever holds the throne now. Ancient DNA research, again and again, across regions all over the world, keeps quietly pushing back against that intuition. Political history moves in sharp, dramatic breaks. Population history, the actual lineage of ordinary people, living, working, having children, and dying across the same landscape, generation after generation, tends to move far more slowly and far more continuously than the history written on palace walls would ever lead you to expect. So where does this actually leave the story of who the Persians really are, genetically speaking, once you strip away the assumptions and look only at what the evidence supports? The Persian Empire, in the genetic sense, was never a sudden genetic event. It was the latest visible layer sitting on top of an almost incomprehensibly deep, continuous population history, stretching back through Elam, through the Copper Age farmers who came before Elam, through the Neolithic settlers of Ganjdara, all the way back to Mesolithic hunter-gatherers, carrying some of the oldest, most distinctive genetic lineages ever recovered from ancient Eurasia. Modern Iranians carry that entire layered history inside them, a genetic record that political upheaval, conquest, and thousands of years of dramatic historical change somehow never managed to erase. And, if the connection to Dravidian-speaking South Asia holds up under further research, the reach of that ancient Elamite population may extend even further than anyone studying this region ever expected, carried quietly forward across an entire subcontinent, waiting in DNA nobody thought to examine until now. The empires rose. The empires fell. The people, it turns out, mostly just stayed exactly where they always were.